How do you claim tax sale overages? Lots of people asking that question. So depending on the place you're claiming them from, meaning the state you're working in, there are two methods, and they're going to use one or the other. One method is the administrative claim method. The other method, the second method, is going through the court system. Now, in most jurisdictions, it's an administrative claim method. Here's how you claim tax sale overages. Typically, it's an administrative claim process, and what that means is that the agency that has the money has a form that you fill in. All the government agencies have forms, and you fill in that form, you hand it in with an ID, and they process the claim and cut you a check. The information that goes in the form is very easy. It's typically things like the address of the property, the name of the person making the claim, who that person is, which is going to be the former owner of the property, and information like that. Most of the information is given to you on the list of overages that I teach you how to get in another video. So most of the information is very easily there. Pretty much anybody with just a couple minutes of training can fill in these forms. Sometimes they'll have some accompanying things they want. They'll typically want a copy of the person's ID, a couple other pieces of information, but pretty straightforward. What happens is that you turn it in, the government agency will look it over. If they have any questions, they'll ask. Typically, they don't have questions other than, hey, you had to check off a box here, you didn't check it off. What box do you want to check off? So typically no questions. And what happens is they'll look it over, they verify they have the money, and then they cut you a check. Now you might wonder, what are they doing? Because it typically takes them a couple months to cut a check. What they're doing during that time is they're verifying that all the taxes that were supposed to be paid out of the proceeds of the sale were actually paid, making sure they have receipts back in the tax sale file. So for example, they pay the school tax bill out of the monies that they generate from tax sale. So they'll reach out to the school tax collector and they'll say, hey, just want to make sure, did you get the 2022 taxes for 123 Main Street? The tax collector typically would say, yes, I did. And they say, great, could you send me over a certification or confirmation of that just so I can put it in the file? What they're doing is they're just checking to see that the school taxes, the borough taxes, the county taxes, the city taxes, any liens like grass cutting liens, making sure those are all paid up through the date of the sale. And then they just verify that, this is how much money is left over. Now, generally speaking, that doesn't impact the size of the overage, but they're doing that work because they really need to make sure internally that that file is finalized and complete, because they're going to be sending you all of the extra money left over at the end of that. So they want to make sure that it's complete. So they do that, and a lot of times they get questioned, people, well, how long does it typically take? 3 to 5 months is the answer. Sometimes it's faster. We've been paid same day. That's not typical, but typically just allow yourself 3 to 5 months to get paid. So the idea behind this business is you essentially set it up as a pipeline, meaning you put the deals in there and you just watch them proceed down. There's not much to do once you turn in the deal. So you turn in the deal, just put them on the pipeline. If you put in a deal a week, you'll probably get about a deal a week out starting about 3 months from now. So it's a really good business. So number one, typical way to do it is administrative claim process. That's the way most places work. Now there's some other places that work through the court system, and you'll typically know those because that's where the court system is actually holding the money. By the taxing authority that foreclosed and collected the money, they have some money left over, so they deposit it in the court. The court is waiting for someone to come and apply for those funds. Now, thankfully, this is not very complicated. This is really a pretty simple process, but for that one, you do need an attorney. And typically, I tell my students to budget for those deals $1,800 to $2,000 for legal costs in processing that claim. So it's a consideration. So for a lot of my students, I'll tell them which states are which. I'll say, well, this state is administrative, this state is through the court system. And so for a lot of people, they'll say, well, let me just work on the administrative claim states. Other people are going to say, no, I can handle $2,000 in expenses to process a claim, especially when you're making $20,000 or $30,000. I'm okay with that. And they might be thinking, well, there's probably less competition because less people working in a state where you need an attorney to work with. Either one has its pluses and minuses. One of the pluses of the places with attorneys is that they do the work of the claiming. You can just do your work of getting the phone and calling people and signing them up, which is a really great way to do the business. Either way is fine. We could talk about that further another time. But the claim process through the court system, not very complicated, and surprisingly, it can actually be faster than the administrative process. Who would think that a court system could be faster, but it can be. They're not far apart, but typically you file something called a petition. That's something your lawyer prepares. Basically, the petition just says, here's the property, here's the person, here's the money that's left over, and we'd like the money. Pretty simple. The court looks at it. The county can comment on it, saying, yes, we have that money, which is usually what they say. A hearing is scheduled typically about 60 days after you file the petition. An order is signed and a check is written. So it can be actually a little faster and through the court system. But either one is plenty fast, because this business, it's a real business. And so you're loading in a pipeline, you're putting your deals in there, you can watch them proceeding down. And again, it's not get rich overnight. You can get very rich and you get rich relatively quickly, but it is a real business. So you're going to be doing that groundwork, getting your deals in the pipeline, and then moving it through. So some other comments about it. The administrative claim process, you don't need any attorneys or anything like that. That's good, that's a benefit. And in our training, we do tell you which state is which. So we went through them all. I've done research in all 50 states, and we've done business. I think pretty much every state you could do claims in, we've done claims in. We continue to do that. And one of the things you may or may not know about our business is that we are in the overages business. I have what I believe is the largest overages business in the country. Obviously, I don't know what everybody is doing in the overages business, so just a guess, but we're doing in any given time many dozens of these deals. And we've been doing that for 10 years. So I think chances are we have more experience than anybody in probably a bigger business. We know how it works in all the places. So we also have the education side. So we have an education side where we teach people like yourself, the business, who are curious about it and think, wow, it sounds like a great business. I get to help people, I get to make money, I get to really make a difference in the world and a difference for my family and my own financial situation. That's the teaching side of the business. Now, some people, maybe you, I don't know, get cynical and say, wait a minute, why do you teach anybody this business? Why don't you keep it all to yourself? So I'll tell you the secret. There are approximately 3,000 properties sold at tax sale every day in America. That number came from a study that JP Morgan Chase did a couple of years back, and if anything, it's higher today. So when you're talking about 3,000 properties sold per day at tax sale, pretty much every property that has a structure on it, a house, a commercial building, anything it's built on, is going to sell for more than the taxes that are due. You're only talking about 3 to 4 years worth of taxes. Typically, the total tax bill is only 10 to 15% of the value of the property, even accounting for penalties and interest. So when the property sells at tax sale, it sells for a lot more than that, and that's why there's an overage. So 3,000 properties per day are sold at tax sale, and that, according to JP Morgan Chase, results in a little over $13 million a day in money coming to the system. A couple $1 million of that is overages money, and a couple hundred of those properties have overages. So there's no way for us to keep up with it all. So when I thought about that, I thought, what I want to do in the world. And I can tell you, I really want to do two things. Thing number one, I want to make a great living for myself and my family. I want the people that work for me to have a great job, a great calling that they can do and help us with. So that's number one. The second thing is, I really want to help people. And in this business, I get to help two kinds of people. One, someone like you that maybe is considering this as maybe a business that you could do, a business you could enjoy, a business that you could say, I'm really making a difference for people. Because the people that we help in the overages business are people that have lost their house at tax sale, which is devastating to people, absolutely devastating. It's emotionally and psychologically devastating for people. We're helping them get a windfall of cash. Our typical claim, and our mathematical average claim, I should say, is $52,000. So that represents, generally speaking, about $30,000 to the claimant and about $20,000 to us and about $2,000 worth of expenses. We're talking about getting someone who lost their house at tax sale, thought all hope was lost, there was nothing they would have, and we get them a windfall that they never knew about of $30,000. And for ourselves, for my family, and our business, and all the people that work for me, there's $20,000 coming in. And we use that to support our business. And it's a really great and amazing business. So they take on this business, and usually my best students, the people I really like working with, are people that have that heart for helping the people who have lost their properties at tax sale. Because those folks are flat on their back financially. They were so poor that they lost their house over being unable to pay the real estate taxes. That's tough, psychologically devastating, very difficult on people's psyche, and difficult on them financially too, obviously. So in that case, I'm getting to help two people, you and the people you help. I absolutely love that. And you're basically taking claims that I'd never get to anyway. So to me, it's a triple win. I get a great education business, and I do make money at that. Confession, I work to make money. I work to support the people that work for me. So, we do make money on that. So I'm not pretending I'm a saint here. I'm a good businessman, but I'm also honest about what we do. But I really want a business that I can teach you that you can do, start off as part-time, not an expensive business to start, don't need a lot of capital to invest, you don't need to get a mortgage like house flipping. House flipping is a business that lots of people get excited about and looks like a lot of fun. But house flipping, especially today, is a lot of dangers because you have houses that can significantly decline in value while you're trying to flip your house. If that house drops by 10 or 15% in value while you're holding it, to flip it, meaning while you're doing the fix up and resale, you probably won't make anything. Drops too much, you could actually be stuck with a mortgage that you don't have any way of paying off. And if you get one of the short-term mortgages like a hard money loan, you could really be in trouble. So I don't think that house flipping business in this market with falling real estate prices is the way to go. I think it's a big mistake. What I would be looking for in this market is a service business that you can do where you get paid for bringing results. And that's exactly what Overages is. We get a percentage of what we recover and we're paid straight by the government. So we get that money straight from the government. We keep our portion, give the person who lost the house their portion of the money. So it's very straightforward, very positive business. Best people to do this business. And if you're asking yourself, well, this would be a good business for me, maybe or maybe not, I think the best person really wants to have a business where they help other people and they want to make a great living for themselves and their family. They don't want to worry about inflation. They don't want to worry about the price of eggs and gas and everything else. You want to have a really robust financial life. You want to be in control of your life, but you want a business where you help people and you make a lot of money. And that is the Overages business. So back to the claiming process, which is what I'm supposed to be talking about in this video and how I started. 2 ways to do it. Administrative process, that's just filling in paperwork, turning it in, they process it, a couple months later you get paid. Realistically, that's typically 3 to 5 months. So tell your claimant it's 5 months. When you get it for them in 3, they will be very happy. I promise they won't complain. Don't tell them 3 months and have to make excuses as to why it's 4 or 5. So anyway, so that's number one. The second one is the judicial claim process, meaning the ones that go through the court system. For those, realistically, just budget $2,000 a claim. You will get reimbursed for those costs when you recover the money, but you still got to put the money up front. So that's something to consider, and that depends on your own level of capitalization. I think if you're someone that's really bootstrapping yourselves, definitely stick with the administrative claim states. If you're someone who's like, no, I could invest that. You know, I've known if I'm making $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 on a claim, I'm fine with investing up front. Then you may look at the judicial states. Either one is fine. They both work. Success in this business is not like, did you choose a state with an administrative claim process or judicial claim process? Where the success comes from is actually doing the work. So it's making the calls, calling people up to let them know there's money there, building some rapport and trust with them, and getting them to say, yeah, let's give this a try. Why not? I could hopefully get a windfall out of it. And remember, the offer we're making to people is, it doesn't cost you anything to try. I'll do the work. I'll get the forms, I'll fill them in. You just give me written permission to proceed. I'll cover any costs that we have. And if we're successful, I get a percentage as a reward for that. If we're not successful, then I cover the cost. It would be a shame, but at least you tried. But it won't cost you anything. So there's absolutely no loss. Kind of like a free lottery ticket, except with much, much better odds. Because generally these claims will go through. Now there will be some that don't go through. Sometimes it's as simple as you found the wrong person. You found someone with the same name but wrong person. We teach people how to figure out whether they have the right person or not in our education, but I'm just telling you up front, when things don't go through, often that's the reason. It can just be that. So one is administrative process, you put those in. Second one is judicial process. You're going to be working with a local attorney, work with the same person, over and over again, get a really good relationship. Benefits to that is they do the work of the claiming. You do your work of calling people, getting yeses, and then turning them over to the attorney and moving on to making lots of sales. So that can actually be beneficial. Often the decision is made based on your level of capitalization. In our course, we go over how each state works, including whether it's a judicial state or an administrative claim state. So when you get our education, you'll get all of that research. It took a long time to do the research in all 50 states. The handful of states we figured out you can't do it at all here, like Illinois and Wisconsin and Colorado. Most of the states you can do it in, so we found that out, and we also found out exactly how it works in each state. And because we've been doing this business for more than 10 years, we really know the ins and outs. So I think our education's absolutely second to none. Actually, some of my students, a couple of them have gone on to educate in this field, and I'm proud of that because I teach it well enough that they can see themselves in the education field, which I think is terrific. Trust me that when you get into this business, the claiming part is not very difficult. There are some boxes you need to know how to check. There's some things you need to know. There's some information that's pretty easily teachable. The challenge in this business is just whether you're going to actually do the work of reaching out to people. Typically, phone call is the easiest way to reach out. You can send them letters and texts and emails also, but typically your phone is your primary method. So if you're willing to reach out to people, give them the good news, then you can be successful in this business. That's pretty easy. And to get into this business, pretty straightforward. You want to learn about it, you want to learn how it works, watch my videos. I teach all about this business in these videos, so watch the videos, really get into it, learn the business, and then get started with it and start making calls and giving people the good news they're owed a refund, work through the skepticism they're naturally going to have, get yourself a couple of customers, and make some great money. It's an amazing, profitable business, and best of all, it's a business where you help people. So that's what I'd say for now on claiming tax sale overages. If you got more questions or more comments, please put them down below. I'll get to the ones that I can, do more videos, do more education. In the meanwhile, have an amazing and great day, and I'll see you on the next video.